Hello everyone! With July just around the corner, it's time to review the ban list changes that are going to affect next month. In the past week, you have voted on the following 5 cards for whether you'd like them to be banned or not, and those cards are Chancellor of the Annex, Jace Wielder of Mysteries, Black Lotus, Strip Mine, and the Rack. Let's start by covering the cards that did not receive any ban changes, starting with Black Lotus. For the most part, people agree that Black Lotus should stay around at least for another month. The average opinion on a scale of -2 being definitely banned to +2 being definitely don't ban, with a 0 midpoint of indifferent/undecided, the average person responding to the survey would have given a score of 0.79. The next card that also didn't receive a ban was the Rack. The Rack had a bit of a different looking bar chart. You can see that there was a far greater number of people that were indifferent as to whether the Rack received a ban or not, which I think is likely because the Rack didn't actually see successful play in the previous month. But either way, it comes out to being not banned with a average opinion of 0.71. This means the remaining 3 cards did receive a ban. Let's start by looking at Chancellor of the Annex. You can see here that most people did want to see Chancellor of the Annex get banned, but there were a few holdouts that actually really wanted Chancellor of the Annex to not receive a ban. And just to reflect on that, Chancellor of the Annex is a card that is extremely oppressive and prevents a lot of fun decks from being played, but it also oppresses a lot of the extra unfun decks, which we will get to discover in the near future because it has been banned. But I do think overall this is a good direction for the format to head in, that we do have to maybe pull out those weeds as they appear, and Chancellor of the Annex is definitely a card that the majority of people agreed is not fun to have in the meta. Next we have Jace Wielder of Mysteries, which unsurprisingly, overwhelmingly people wanted to see banned. You can see on that bar chart just how many people wanted to see it definitely banned, that there wasn't really much indecision on this card specifically, and having seen how it performed in the prior month, I think that is a very fair way to interpret the situation, that Jace Wielder of Mysteries, as long as there's a way to deploy it relatively quickly, is going to completely warp the format. So, not a card that I think most people are going to miss. And the last card on the list is Strip Mine. You can see that Strip Mine, again, there was a bit more variance in terms of people's opinions on the card. But if you're wondering about how that weighed out in terms of scoring, it did end up in the negative at a negative 0.47. So it is receiving a ban. And I think it is also fair to just bring up here that Wasteland is a card that does exist. We will be watching it closely, but for those of you who felt that Strip Mine should not be banned, Wasteland does the same thing the overwhelming majority of scenarios, so there isn't necessarily a strong reason to have both in the format. And Wasteland was a card that a few people brought up on the fill in the blank, so that is a card that we will be looking at in the future if it performs well in the next month. On that note, I should mention that I have read everybody's fill in the blank responses, so there are a handful of cards that I am paying attention to. Many of those comments that you have left I agree strongly with, but I do want to make sure that the banning process is evidence-based and also democratic, so we're going to be having those cards kind of sit on the back burner. I don't want to talk about them right now, with the exception of Wasteland, because I don't want to influence the meta of July too much by publicizing which cards I think are going to overperform. And that wraps things up, folks. I do want to remind people that the submissions for July are going to open up on July 1st, and I'm going to be accepting a limited number of submissions, so be sure to have your deck lists ready before then if you are itching to participate. And either way, regardless of whether you choose to participate now or you try to participate and you aren't able to get in, I do want to invite you to join the Discord server where you can discuss the format, discuss the bans, and also potentially join in on side events, which we now have a side events channel. So if you want to participate in 3-card blind on a smaller scale, that is an option for you if you do not manage to get in your deck submission early in July. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a nice day.